Hello, good morning, everyone. This is another week. My name is Rotimi Itaya, and I would like to welcome you to the Good Morning Education Show. And it's going to be a great time this week. I will be starting a special series this week that will run from Monday to Friday, and we'll be focusing on several issues that has to do with the reopening of schools, resumption of schools across the country, and of course, also looking at what is happening um, in several climes as well. Um, so I would like to thank you all for joining as usual. And if you're joining us from wherever you're joining us, please do let us know and send in your name, send in your comments. Do let us know if you have questions. We will be ready and willing to answer you regarding your questions. It's going to be a great day, I can tell you, and I can assure you of that. And our analysts are ready and revving to start. And I'm going to start by introducing Ugochi, the safety chick. Ugochi, good morning.
Good morning,
Oh,
sir. Happy to
I've
be
missed that opening montage. You start by showing your smile, then your teeth, and then you say good morning. Can you do it again? Want to go? Ugochi, good morning. Ready? No, 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 no. Ready? Come on. Wait, wait. There's a way you do it. So form as if you're writing. Do
It's
as if
not
you're writing.
planned. It just
Wait,
happened, so I
wait.
can't
Yeah, yeah,
choreograph
yeah. So
it.
now I want it to be planned. So act as if you're writing something. Look down at then. Welcome Ugochi this morning. Oh yeah. Down. Uh, all right, fantastic. And of course, the prophet himself is here, back and live. I had to stand in for Jude on Friday, and he actually left me to be shredded to pieces. But the Lord did not allow it to happen.
I,
Jude,
I was I was here
I,
in spirit.
I carried your cross for you. You left me with Titi the Great and KK the Great, two Republicans. Come on.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Ugochi.
Great
Good
to have
morning,
you.
Mr. Rotimi. Good
Morning,
Yes.
morning,
Jude.
Internet. And
Thank
good
you.
morning,
Yes. Very
colleagues.
important. And of course, let's welcome Titi in the building. Titi, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning. You're welcome, ma.
Hello.
June, good morning.
You can't get that signature. There's a way she does it.
I'm
Hello.
not, I'm not going to say anything this morning. Good morning, everyone. Hello.
Titi, maybe you might need to do some training for that your signature greeting. So, oh my goodness.
Where's
All
my
right.
cousin?
Are you asking me seriously, Titi? Am I your cousin's keeper? All right.
When she
We
comes,
have
let's
Ifyok
have
in the building. Ifyok is saying good morning, and she's picking us one by one. She's saying, "Yay! Good morning, Rotimi. Good morning, Safety Chick. Good morning, Jude." Ifyok hasn't said good morning, Titi. Ifyok Titi has some Dubai and UAE squad. So whereas she said good morning, ever
Good
smiling
morning,
Titi.
Ifyo.
Good morning. Good
Titi is a
morning.
Good
mafia.
morning, Ifyo.
So I'm ringing the
Good
bell
morning,
of blessings
Ifyok.
to Ifyok, and always good and great to see Ifyok online. In fact, I'm looking forward to the day where we'll be streaming the Good Morning Education Show live from the UAE. And then
Yeah.
Ugochi will
Yes,
say,
sir.
"Oh shit!" All right, so it's a great day. We're going to be starting a series, and it's more or less I'll call it fitness series. We're looking at readiness for resumption, school reopening, and the likes. So today, being Monday, we're going to start off that conversation with the topic or the title "Fit for Resumption." And of course, I know Gucci's here. She's done a lot. In fact, this weekend was a busy weekend for Gucci. I was just following her in the shadows. She didn't know. I was just following her step by step from one to the other, and I was sensing some alerts as well. Titi has been coding her own. In fact, to the point she doesn't want to show us her face this one because of alerts. The effect of the alert is so much. And then of course Jude, you've been in the forefront. So let's start with that. Are we are we fit for resumption? You know, in fact, there was a particular point where people were talking about the possibility of having what they call it, a change, especially for those in Lagos State. I saw at some point in time it's cancelled, and then at some point in time it was clarified that it's not cancelled. So many things. So let's start with that.
Okay. Are you talking about physically fit or spiritually fit or
Operationally fit.
operationally fit or mentally fit? Which of the fitness
You
are
know,
we
KK
looking
is
at?
around now. She can get you any moment from now. KK is in the building. Good morning. KK.
Good morning,
Morning,
Good
KK.
everyone.
morning, Mr.
Good morning.
Jai.
It's good to be back this morning.
Good morning.
Ugochi, when are you going to call me KK?
Good morning, Kitty.
Good morning. Cousin.
Just asking.
I have no idea. Is that your
See,
preferred method of address? If that's your preferred method of address, I'll take it.
Ugochi knows that she who fights and run will live to fight another day and win.
And win. So, what
Okay, so
aspect of fitness are we looking at?
yeah, resumption fitness in terms of operations. Let's start with that.
Okay. Okay.
No headlines today.
Hello?
Headlines.
I said
Headlines.
We'll still talk about headline. Let's start with the opening statement first.
Okay. For private schools, I will not stand in for every private school, but for maybe the top tier and maybe mid-range private schools, I think they have a lot of things put in place. I've gone, or I've at least done some training with a few of them, and at least they are ready as at what they are shown outside. They are ready in terms of facilities, in terms of security measures, in terms of protocol, the way you go from one point to the other in their school. So they are ready for private school, but for public school, definitely depends on what the government is putting in place. From I will only judge by what I see on the news, right, or the schools that have been shown to be prepared. So private schools, they are good at least to some points. For public schools, they should be at least ready as possible too. And basically, judging from the fact that they actually put down nursery school resuming, it shows a lot of security risk or security concerns in that zone of nursery school. So they had to put them back and say, okay, resumption is only for primary and secondary, which makes a lot of sense, judging from the fact that these young kids, you can't tame them, and if you tame them too much, it becomes unhealthy for them too. So good for private schools. We can resume. I think so for private schools.
Mr. Rotimi, does that mean I should speak? My picture is on the screen.
Yeah,
Mr.
sorry, I
Rotimi
actually
still
didn't know I was
here.
on mute. Yes, he's here. Mr. Rotimi is here already here. So,
Okay.
Gochi, yes, say something.
Okay, so I would just like to start by saying that we all need to understand that, and this is going to all schools out there who are listening, that resumption does not necessarily mean resumption at a physical school building. Resumption can happen online. So I think once we're able to get that perspective, it helps to, are we resuming or are we not resuming? And for example, here in Lagos, the state government has said that the rules they put out was specific to public schools. However, private schools can take a cue from how they are planning to do theirs to do it. So for me, I would say that fitness in terms of resumption for schools would cover three broad areas. The first is infrastructure. The next is your safety systems and your procedures. And of course, the third and most important one is people. Because if the people are not doing the right thing, your infrastructure and your systems will not work. So for infrastructure, we all know by now, your hand washing stations, your toilets are really very important at this time because they could actually become a breeding ground eventually if we do not do the right thing. Then classrooms, fencing is so important. So I know that maybe some private schools do not grapple with this, but public schools have this as a challenge. Fencing is so important because a fence is the first major barrier. You know, it's a security tool, it's a safety tool. And so when that is not there, that means anyone can go in and go out. And now when we're trying to say we're restricting movement so that we're able to contain and know what is actually going on within a space, it means that is a problem. So your infrastructure game has to be on point. Then your safety systems and procedures. How are you going to have your class schedules? How are you going to do your school buses? What are you going to do about temperature checks? Just all those systems, those plans must be in place. And then, of course, your people. Are your people knowledgeable? And when I mean your people, everyone from your parents to the children, to the cleaners, to the teachers, everyone, because many times we focus our knowledge on maybe just two people, the teachers and the students. Any other person within that space can be a weak link and cause a problem in your system. So the people, you need to map out who are your stakeholders. How do you ensure that they are properly informed? And now, aside informing them again, you must also make them become more conscious of their health. I remember when the pandemic started, people were double dosing. This is vitamin C, the 1,000 milligram one that you can dissolve in water. This thing rose to almost 3 times its cost. I remember when the pandemic started because people were stocking up on vitamin C, supplements, and all that. But now, September 2020, how many people are still attempting to eat right? How many people are still attempting to ensure that they get their vitamins and their minerals? Because your body needs to be able to fight for itself. Because God forbid you find yourself in a wrong situation, the wrong place at the wrong time. Has your immune system been built to a level where it can fight for you? So basically, your infrastructure, your systems, and your people.
O'Shea, I say that on your behalf. That's O'Shea person. You couldn't be much more apt than that. And you said something. How many people still eat right? I think that it's not something we should just gloss over quickly because it's not just about vitamin C. It's much more than that. And really, it's a call to wake up because boosting immunity was not something we all were known for, were used to. But now, I think it's something that we need to pay attention to. So, KK, are you there?
Yeah.
Yes. So, what do you have to say on that?
I mean, I agree with Ugochi that there's at least the part of her conversation that I bumped into. So yeah, that you need to think about everything, to be honest, every single thing. And you must think about it in terms of not just every single stakeholder you must consider the reality of what is happening right now in terms of knowledge. So how much knowledge do the people in your community, your stakeholders have regarding this? It's almost like the novelty of coronavirus is wearing off and everybody's just carrying on like it's okay, but it's not okay. The virus is still, out there. It's still very alive, and we must be awake to that reality. And so communicating the reality of where you are as a school, as an institution of learning in whatever way is really important. You must also look at your virtual learning specifics. You must talk to your parents about what exactly is it that you're doing, because one of the reasons why I say to people that don't shut down virtual learning because we're going back to physical school. No, you shouldn't. Because if ever we need to shut down the schools again, what are you going to do? You need to have that constantly rolling so that you're sure if for any reason the government says, guys, shut down, learning continuity is already embedded in your entire program. So we must always think a blended learning framework in this regard. You must look at your team members. Who amongst your team members is prone to is old in terms of being above 55. You must look at that. You must ask right now your team members, which of you has underlying health conditions. That's really important. You must let your parents know what are your procedures for entry, what are your procedures for exit. Is there going to be staggered entry and exit times? All of that needs to be communicated. Normally parents walk in, especially school parents, walk into the classroom to pick up their children. Is that still going to be happening? Because guess what? You have a maximum number of people per space. So if you have already the maximum number in that space, then anybody extra is what? Putting people in danger of not social distancing properly. So that's something that we need to begin to look at. We must, of course, look at potential outbreak containment. What's your plan? Your isolation bay, what should it look like? Does it need to have a bed? Another thing is children. So when you think about fit to resume, you must think about your community, your parents, everybody as well, and even those around you. Remember, Rotimi, we've talked about it in this show that once school resumes, there's like 1 million other people that resume right along with schools. So what's the plan to contain those people? Because somebody's going to buy bread outside from that woman selling bread and the agege bread and the beans, right? And bring it in, yeah, because that's what happens, isn't it? There's that woman that sells rice along the road from her boot. People are going to be gathered there. There's no social distancing around that woman's boot that is selling rice and beans. So, all of those things are things you need to begin to look at, right? And then, of course, you must look at readiness in terms of your health, the mental health of your staff as well. And to be honest with you, these days, I don't think parents are thinking about learning outcomes. Oh, my child needs to be first. No, it's that my child needs to not die, in school. So those are things, I'm sorry if I'm being too, dramatic about this. But those are things that we need to begin to look at. Me, for example, I'm asking myself, do I want to go to school every day? Why? Because I do have some health conditions, which I don't think is something that I want to expose myself to. So all of those things, we can't be hiding our heads in the sand. We must come out and think about all of these things. So how about your outdoor play? Is it that the children are going to be sitting inside the school, inside the class all day? Cabin fever. Do you know what it means to keep a child in school for hours? It doesn't matter if they don't come to school every day. Look, so that's something you must think about. When they are going outdoor, what are you going to do? When they're outdoor, what are the non-contact sports that they can have? So you need to think about all those things. And they're going to wash their hands. They're going to wear their masks when they're outdoor. And all, so there's just so much when you think about fit for resumption, to be honest. And then, of course, you must look at yourself as a business. How much money do you have to resume right now? So let me stop. Of course, your transportation plan. Now, I've talked to some school owners. This is the last one, then I'll go off. Right? I've talked to a few people and they've said, "Oh, we don't have school bus," and I'm like, "That's not what transportation is. Transportation is much more than school bus. Who is bringing those students to school? How are they coming to school? I mean, I had parents, for example, who used to do ride share. Are we still going to do that? All of those things are things that we must begin to look at, and we must begin to communicate what our procedures are and what our community needs to adhere to. If you're not saying anything, then people are going to do anything. I mean, OEQ has come up with a checklist that we need to follow, which is great. You see, that checklist makes you ready to reopen as a school. How about the stakeholders, and which is what we're talking about? So there are two aspects to this. The government checklist that says you guys must do this, and then the readiness, internal readiness of your organization, plus all the fantastic stakeholders that are connected to you. So those are the two ways I would say we need to look at this in terms of fit for resumption. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the fire. Thank you for the articulation. Just putting those articulation, gesticulation, and then it's feeling like we're in a matriculation, something like that. All right. Before I ask Titi, I think KK, you actually have brought an attention to. You brought us to discover that the innovations that are taking place over time within the education space, especially for private school, actually are areas that need visitation. Something like a ride share, it probably wouldn't have been something that would come on the checklist for resumption readiness or safety procedure. Of course, a lot of people outsource staffing, outsource transportation. So the school runs angle that you mentioned is a very, very critical element as well. So we need to look at all the areas where we've brought innovation to our processes, because they might become blind spots to us. While they were great spots of achievement. But because of the COVID-19 scenario and the sensitivity of the period, we need to look at every form of innovation that actually was brought to do good to the system, and check, because those areas sometimes, because they are not conventional checkpoints, there's a possibility that we might overlook them and they might actually become threats instead of opportunities. So thank you for that. In fact, I'm ringing blessings to that. So, Titi, hello. Did I get that?
I think everyone has more or less covered a lot of things, and I just want to pick on one area, and I think it was Keke that mentioned it, and I want to use a real life scenario. So for if you guys on the scene will know that Dubai has already resumed, and they've been in school for most of their schools have done at least 1 full week of that, because the government has given the requirements, told schools to go ahead and resume. But I was talking to someone during the week, and she said that they resumed 1 week, and then one child had COVID. So obviously the child had gotten it from home or wherever. Anyway, the child had COVID. So the question is, what's a school's plan when that happens? What's the school plan to trace that child that had come to school 1 or 2 days, all the children that came in contact with the child? What's the school's plan to have a way to minimize contact within a particular group, which is where the staggering is? Because once you know that a particular group comes on school on a particular day, then contact tracing becomes very easy. The other thing I want to say is that in Dubai, the numbers are going up again as the economy has opened up, as government has lifted a lot of restrictions. Their numbers are going back up. So my question is, what's the school's plan? Because that's a high possibility. There's a high possibility that we resume, we are fine and happy, and a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks down the line, there's a need to close. Yeah. So one of the schools that my kids are going with, they don't seem to have any plans for online. And I'm like, one of my kids have underlying health issues, so I'm not ready as a mother for them to resume physical schools at all this September. That's the first thing. I'm not. The second is for one that has underlying health issues. Let me be honest. I'm not even sure I'll be ready in October. So for me, I want a school that is giving me the option of saying, you know what, the 2 options in terms of this resumption. There's absolutely there's the option for as many people are not comfortable and want to go, the whole of the first term online. This is the option. And the people that want to come, because remember what KK said. Now that government has said, I work at 50% capacity of the classroom, that means 50% of people, what's happening to them? So if my child's class was taking 20, it means that you're saying technically only 10 people can come to class. So what's the plan for the other 10% or the other 50%? Those are the plans that I really want to hear. I was speaking to a school owner during the week, and the school owner in Lekki, and she was saying that, a lot of the parents in her school are telling her, you know what, your school is fantastic, you are fantastic. I know you will put in the best in terms of safety protocols, but I'm sorry, Lekki was the epicenter here in Lagos. I'm not comfortable with my child coming to school. Yeah. So what are your alternatives to online? So it's what we've always said. It's not a one size fits all. The people in the mainland, they don't send. As far as they're concerned, nothing day. COVID no day. Do you understand? when I listen to some of them, when I go and say, madam, it's because of where you live. Nothing there. So those ones, the parents are ready. Just say the word, they want to come and drop their children now. So I will come back and say, it's not a one size fit all. I'm hoping that you're communicating with your parents. I'm hoping that you are planning plan A and plan B. I am making the options available. So today, my son has started school in a school that is offering online for this first month. So that's where we started, and that we'll take it, one day at a time.
Wow, fantastic. I feel like fantastic isn't the right word, but what you said is fantastic. But it's also a call to understanding that we need to pay attention to the demands of the hour. I feel that we keep struggling with the demands. You see, education is not a static concept. Neither is it meant to create a static reality. Because Titi is not just a friend or an expert or a vendor. She's speaking as a mother, and a mother is a parent. And the truth about it is, schools must realize that, of course, um, there are many Titis out there as well. I don't know if KK agrees with me, but
Yeah,
this is not
I remember
going
a
to be a
parent
one
saying that.
out of so
I
many.
remember a
This is
parent
going to be
saying that she's
one.
not taking her child to school till September 2021. Said it on an Instagram live session. So there are many people that are not comfortable with taking their child back to a physical school building. So schools need to have options.
I mean, I have that in my system.
And part of it,
when we did a survey,
and part of
go ahead, Timmy.
No,
yeah.
I want to hear your survey.
Can
Okay,
you
I mean, when I
imagine,
did,
Titi? You're putting a battle between me and KK. Can you imagine?
Sorry,
Eh?
I'm
That's
sorry.
the corporate way of saying shut up. Huh? Okay, I get you. I know your address. I know where
when
to
I did
get you.
a survey, we had 25% of my population saying they wanted fully virtual. 25%. That they want fully virtual. Now the rest of it, which was 47.6%, said that they wanted blended learning with more days at home than in school. So obviously there are a lot of cities out there, and there are a lot of cases because I'm thinking to myself, this, so it's scary, but I do understand that there are some things that need to be done in the classroom, right? So those are the things that I'm looking at and saying we need to do these things in the classroom. So how can we manage it, right? And that's where learning in pods and learning in bubbles come in. But yes, absolutely, Rotimi, there are a lot of parents like that. And our system is such that if you want, because we have children even outside of Nigeria on our system, so we can't even ask them to come to school physically. So we're still going ahead with having interactive worksheets and all of that, which they can do at home. So we do have those, so I'm not here to sell my school, but yeah, it's important that we have that on the front burner.
You can sell your school, please. If you live in this area, please.
Hello, Titi.
Yes.
Titi.
I can be my child.
Do you want red chili pepper for breakfast? Which one? What's your plan? Red chili pepper for breakfast? All right. Okay, so what's happening really is taking me back to something that happened many, many years ago. And I don't know if most of us remember that around 1991, 92, having noodles wasn't a fantastic thing to say in an African home. Noodles was not that basic thing, right? In fact, there was a particular brand that started noodles, and it was called something minute noodles. I'm not marketing, and that brand did not last. It was actually until another brand, almost 6 months to 9 months after came in, and they took the market, and then people started trying it out. Now, notice something. The parents and adults of those days never took it as something that was major. So they gave their children, right? And then over the years, what happened is that the children that were taking noodles back then have now become adults. And because that was what they were nurtured with, that was what they embraced, it has now become a standard staple food that their own children have now been initiated into the noodles appetite drive. And no wonder you can see that there's a huge market potential when it comes to the noodles market. It's the same thing that looking at what KK said, is the same thing that is happening now, because KK is saying that they did a survey, and that's data. You are able to say that some people are saying, we don't want to come, we don't mind you doing online, meaning that it seems like the goalpost is shifting and changing in the thing called school. And while a lot of us are trying to justify and try to argue, I think we need to look at that because it's part of being fit, not just for resumption in terms of a calendar that is talking about 21st or so. We're looking at resumption back to the reality of school. So parents are feeling comfortable with the fact that their children do not necessarily physically want to bring their children to school, meaning that the post is shifting. I don't know if we're seeing it from that perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that might need us to actually begin to make provisions. So
Yeah.
we're not trying to do COVID provisions. We're trying to do business continuity provision, right? So Jude, Dr.
Okay,
Jude.
okay. I agree with KK. The same. I would say the school I work with, we did the same survey. We did the same survey, and we had like 3 sections, right? Completely virtual aspect. Parents who needed the 2 days in and 2 days out, and parents who needed the complete full day schooling. So the result was very interesting. For those who needed full day, that's Monday to Fridays, definitely, those are highly working class parents where both parents are working. You find that we had like 46% or so, 46%. Yeah. We had 46% of parents subscribing to Monday to Friday schooling. But maybe till 2 o'clock or till 1 o'clock, school is closed, right? Then the other percentage was the one that wanted complete virtual schooling, were maybe 30% or so, 30%. Then one that wanted the 2 days in and 2 days out took the rest of the statistics. So it shows school business plans should begin to fine-tune their agenda or fine-tune their long-term plan to suit virtual markets, because it's like the market is demanding, or the market for virtual learning only is growing, and it's high time you start putting it into your business plan rather than seeing it as a palliative for remedying your COVID-19 panic address and all that. So it's important now that virtual schooling or virtual classing, and I was saying, I did a training with the school, and I actually had to introduce them with a new lesson plan, because the normal old lesson plan wasn't having virtual classes, right? It was built, or it was designed for face-to-face classes. So I told them that, I was asking them that if you have to use your old lesson plan now, you might find it difficult to implement virtual classes because there's no space for virtual classes. Everything that the old lesson plan was designed for face-to-face or on-site schooling. So I had to expose them to a new lesson plan that actually embedded virtual classes. So there's an option for fully virtual, there's an option for the 2 days, and the option for the normal face-to-face, so which actually works. And I believe that will also help other schools trying to get on to the virtual platforms or trying to adopt virtual platforms to change their lesson plan so that it makes it easier for parents and teachers to actually identify the elements that needs improvement and needs to be actually revamped totally.
Thank you so much, dude. It makes so much sense. And that's why I said, just before we take the comments, this week, if you're listening to us, we will be focusing on the realities of reopening and resumptions of school. And we're going to take it from different angles. So we will also be featuring guests um, who actually are involved in one dimension or the other in the school space. Tomorrow, we'll be having a guest. Or two tomorrow, talking about the conversation. We'll be looking at fitness for resumption today. We're looking at fitness for learning, fitness for service, fitness for progress, different areas just to be able to ensure that we even bring consultants, we bring people who run management software, all in a bid to help us capture the entire spectrum of that kind of resolve. So I'd like Ugochi to help us read the comments. We'll start with comments and then we'll move straight to the others. So Ugochi, are you ready for comments? Thank you.
Okay, we have Ifyok saying, "Yay, good morning, Rotimi." Okay, Ifyok is greeting all of us. Good morning, Safety Chick.
I was wondering how you say that.
And she's like, "Woohoo, Oshay, welcome to UAE."
Okay.
Next comment. Nana, good morning, Nana. She's saying, "Good morning, great educators." Okay, Spelling Bee is saying infrastructure, safety systems, and people are key to resumption readiness by Ugochi Safety Chick. Okay, quoting me. Next comment is, again, still quoting me, how many people still eat right? Omotoke is saying, good morning. The learning practice.
A blessing for Omotoke because I think it's her first time on the
Yeah,
show.
I know. I was going to do that after, but let me do that now. So Toke, hello, blessing. Toke is commenting all the way from Ilorin. Thank you for joining, Toke.
Welcome, Toke from Ilorin. You're welcome. You're welcome. Next comment, please. Okay, sorry to me quoting TT saying it's not a one size fits all. Ifyok is saying, giving a case of what's happening in Dubai, she says, with any one case in a school, the school is shut down first and the children continue with the virtual learning. In my children's school, they run an alternating 50-50 blended learning option with 50% of children on site and the other 50% online. So that's if you're giving us the gist from the UAE. Uche Kate is saying, good morning.
Has Uche been on the show before?
I think so, but let's ring the bell of blessing. I've seen that name before. But anyway, Uche Kate Mparu, bell of blessing. Thank you for joining.
Ifyok is also saying schools need to keep running on the online learning space. Going back to 100% face-to-face learning is a setting up oneself for failure. That is very important because based on the survey we've heard now from our analysts, you can see that we have those that want the online learning options. Nana is saying, interesting and insightful discussion. KK, please sell your school.
She's selling it. OLX.
Busy Mind School is the place to be. Look out for them on social media. They are doing amazing stuff. So I started selling. Okay, Nana is saying, my children have resumed and all the schools are implementing a blended learning program. In my son's school, physical contact, be it homework, sports, etc., are being handled carefully. For example, homework and assessments are done strictly online. The strategies
Mhm.
within the early years are different because of their age and needs. For example, parents are only allowed to drop children at a designated area. In the past, they could walk right into the classrooms. Now, this is so important. Imagine that this school now doesn't have a fence. So anybody can just walk in at any time. And that's a case of most of the public schools where there is that barrier of entry is not even there. So how would you get people to, meet at a particular point? So thank you so much, Nana, for sharing that example. And then, of course, for homework, for those who are finding it hard to maybe have an online system for submitting homework, then what that simply means is that for both children and teachers, anyone who will handle that homework, before you handle, wash your hands and clean. Once you are done handling, wash your hands and clean again. It's so important. Jude says schools need to fine tune to the virtual market. Very true, because now we know that many people are looking for that option. You must create a plan for that. We need to have courage for the options. Yes. So people are going to get scared. Can we handle virtual? Just look for what is within your budget and what suits your audience. Because again, your audience is really important. If your audience is comfortable on Zoom and you're making it WhatsApp, it's a problem. If they're comfortable on Google Classroom and you're taking it to Zoom, it's a problem. So you must know what your audience wants and then tailor your solutions to fit. So have courage to do the hard stuff. Nana says, we have schools where a member of staff or child has tested positive to COVID-19, and those schools were shut down immediately and contact tracing implemented efficiently and effectively. This is why we must all have those plans in place. What are you going to do? And that's why you must know who is in which group. If you are doing your classes in cohorts, in small groups and all that, know who is in which group, so that when the problem stems from there, it's easy to do effective contact tracing.
Again, strategy. Let me play devil's advocate here. So I can imagine that in Ireland, in Dubai, and all that, they're constantly testing the teachers. Because I think, yes, in Dubai, the government insists on the teachers coming to do tests and it's paid for. But here in Nigeria, where we're not testing as much, so that point when Nana is raising, when don't test positive, the truth is, in Nigeria, we are really behind on tests. And I think what has happened now is that people are won't stop testing. They stop bothering. If I feel I have symptoms of COVID or all that, I won't even bother to go and do a test. So the question is, how do we, and I think here in Nigeria, I don't know if it's just me, whether there's still like a stigma if you say you have COVID. So people would not come out and say. That's what I don't know. I gave the example of a man and his wife died of COVID, and he was going about telling people that she had malaria. So I don't know how that would affect our even being able to quickly react as schools, as parents, when someone actually is, down with COVID.
Yeah,
I think that it's so important that as we're doing communication. Okay, someone is speaking.
No, go ahead. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I think it's so important that as we're doing our communication for school preparation, we must also ensure that there is communication on what should be done regarding when someone tests for COVID and isolation centers. So for starters, that it is not a death sentence and it should not be stigmatized. And so even the way we're going to carve our procedures should make sure that there is no stigmatization in the process. So when people know that it is the reason we're asking you to speak up is for your protection, is not for you to be stigmatized. It allays fears. So that communication has to be done up front. And I always say that it's best to prepare for something before it happens and then everybody gets confused and wait for it to happen. So once that communication is there for both students, including parents, all the stakeholders, and then your isolation center should not be a place that is almost dingy. Your isolation center should be like a regular sick bay, airy, with a bed. It has its own trash. It has its own toilet. It is cleaned and disinfected daily so that people know that it is not a prison, it's not a cell, because again, the aesthetics of the place can affect the way people think about that. When people think, oh my God, I'm going to a dungeon, they don't even want to say anything about it. So there are various factors that can come in to ensure that stigma doesn't happen, and communication is really vital at this point.
Yeah, fantastic statement. And just to add to that, I believe that we also have to be very careful. In the bit of, we also know that our culture eats up brands, eats up organization, eats up individuals. So if, for example, someone had a minor accident or a major accident in a school, we know how people will react to that. People can, if in fact, blow it out of proportion to say, oh, you know what, they suck blood in that school. They are very funny people. So, yes, something happens. Oh, and the school owner is in a cult. That's why. How come 3 children will get injured the same day? I've had stuff. I've had the opportunity to do a competition in a particular school. One of the schools wanted to host us, and a particular teacher that used to work there, I told me that, are you sure you want to go to host your competition? And I said, why? It's like that school, they're diabolical. So and so happened. And if you're not careful and you're not managing scenario, before you know it, this will get from one mouth to the other. So the same thing in our readiness and our fitness for resumption, the communication plan, right, and crisis management must also be addressed. So Titi mentioned it, some people live in denial, some people want to say the truth. But in saying the truth, there has to be schooling. Chika said it several times, and I'm sure in Titi's in KK's training is being mentioned, right? Crisis management is not just being able to say, let's stop the problem. But crisis management is predominantly communication, end-to-end communication. Schools must realize that,
and it's not before the crisis.
Exactly. We must get to know how, if possible, adjust policies where necessary. If possible, have calculated responses, so that before news breaks, you actually are able to curtail and manage situations. So I think that's very important as well.
I mean, in line with what you just said, Rotimi. So what we started doing yesterday is that we're actually putting together a frequently asked questions page, because the reality is, before you've even talked about the crisis, people are already seeing the fact that, can I trust this person in a crisis? If a crisis happens, what are these people going to say? So so that's what we need to begin to look at as individuals, and say to ourselves, how do we begin to make people trust us enough that why are we so, just think about it, why are we Nigerians always so distrustful or mistrustful about the government? It's because we look at them and say, nah, lie. They want to remove policy. They want to remove subsidy from fuel to do what in another sector? They will eat the money. They're not going to do anything, because time and time again, that is what they've proven that they will do, right? So even if this time around, they actually do want to move that money that they're using for subsidy into another sector, we don't think so. So schools need to, at this time, and not just schools, but the individuals who work with and in schools, need to begin to say to people in their networks that, if this happens, this is going to happen. If this happens, this is going to happen. It's almost like having a scripted set of responses, such that everybody is speaking with one voice. So your communication plan right now as a school needs to be very tight. Your communication plan cannot just be physical meeting. It must go across social media, telephone conversations, face conversations, your posters in your school. All that needs to be really tight at this time. If not, you run the risk of your stakeholders not trusting you if something does happen, right? I just wanted to put that in there.
And of course, also we need to appeal to the public. Also, I think there's a myth, and also there's also a conspiracy theory. A lot of people don't know that sometimes when they share and spread rumors, or when they exaggerate with issues, people just feel it's gist, or people just feel they don't know the cost of going out there and saying this happened to so brand. Sometimes some brands don't recover after negative publicity. If we do our research well, some people begin to struggle with customer acquisition, customer retention. I've had many people call me. I've had school owners cry just because of a particular whisper that went across by someone who was just trying to be a bit dodgy. And people don't sometimes verify, you know. So I think, one, the public needs to be very careful. We are always eager to be the first to say something negative. Oh, I was the one that got to know. And you know, that kind of effect, it can actually affect a brand beyond the pandemic. So we must be careful. Should there be a situation that brings about a school announcing or someone saying, oh, so likely happened in a particular school, let's be careful how we manage information. We're not saying we should hide, but I think we need to tread with caution so that we don't kill brands without knowing or without caring, right? Very important about that. We have Teresa joining us. This is Teresa Freeborn. She's joining us.
Morning, Teresa.
Welcome, Teresa Bell. That's Teresa's first time. Thank you for joining. And for those who we have a lot of first timers today. You know, I think this is the part where safety chicken and cake think you are welcome. Yeah, sing that.
You are welcome in the name of the Lord.
I remember.
No, always bring me the dance steps.
Rebel. All right. Okay. It's been a fantastic time. So let's flip the coin now, right? KK, please. You've mentioned tips. You've shared some stuff. It's like this. You are welcome. Is bringing more newcomers. We have Eunice in Daniel. So safety chick. We need to wax record. So let's ring a bell. Eunice Vine Daniels, or is it Vin Daniels? Thank you for joining and welcome to the show. And all our first timers, it would be nice if you could just tell us your location so we can actually get to know your location. But thank you so much for joining. And Nana is giving some comments. Safety chick. I'm even having a tear drop in my eye, you know. I don't know the question to ask again. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, Eunice is from Ibadan. Wow.
Great.
They have fresh bread in the morning like that. And there's one spot like that they sell amala, hot amala.
Hey.
I said that because of KK. I was
oh Lordy.
Oh my goodness. All right. So yes, KK, actually the question I wanted to ask, I can't remember.
We're gonna flip the coin.
Guess what? We have another, well, it's not really a first time, but for me spotting him here is a first time caller. That's Jesse. Jesse is a media person, works with us, a fantastic guy, and he's been running away because he knows he's done me wrong, he's in trouble, but I welcome him all the same. So Jesse,
don't worry, you have fans here. You have fans. We are standing behind you. Mr. We cannot do you anything. We are here.
You can see his look on his Facebook profile. He's in trouble. All right. That's Jesse. So maybe I'll hand over to Titi. You want to say something? Okay, Teresa is saying
for Mrs. Ajayi. That's what you were trying to say. You were about to flip the script for Mrs. Ajayi.
I was about
to started asking a question around that.
Yeah.
You said you wanted to flip the coin, flip the script. Oh, okay.
Okay. That's
yeah. The moment has passed.
Yes.
I knew KK definitely fine. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We just have the closing words. We have just like 3 minutes left on the show.
Okay. So starting with TT, let's have our closing
Yeah,
remarks.
I mean, it's been interesting conversations. I think the points are there. We're excited with school resumption, but you know, you just have to ensure that you've done all it takes to be prepared. Be prepared. Make sure you've done your survey. Apart from putting the protocols, safety protocols in place, make sure you've engaged with your parents to know what they are ready for. I think that's really good. Don't make any assumptions. You'll be surprised what surveys can tell you. So that's my closing remark.
KK, Jesse is responding, saying thank you so much for the love, the educators. He said he will settle in our own way. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Jude, parting words.
Okay, it's an interesting time we find ourselves, and it's important that we dot our I's and cross our T's and make sure that, in as much we are not just complying based on compliance sake, we are trying to protect each other. We are trying to protect our customers, trying to protect our staffs, and trying to protect our brands. So it's not just we're trying. Everybody's complying because government says so. We are complying, or we are protecting each other's interests, each other's future, and each other's health-wise, and each other's business. So we need each other in future. So
Yeah.
it's very important that we do as much as possible to put everybody in a safe spot.
Fantastic. Safety chick.
Okay, so I'll just say that school owners, educators must at this time be very nimble and agile in your planning. Don't say, oh, this is how we have always done it, and you are not willing to change. If the environment is changing, if your business environment is changing, you've got to be willing to make some adjustments so that you are able to still stay in business. And of course, remember that after carving out all your plans pre-resumption, when resumption actually happens, you might see some changes. Some things may not work as they should. Be willing to be agile and make adjustments when necessary. That is what is really going to help you at this time.
Yeah.
Fantastic. KK.
So it's not business as usual. So you need to begin to work on your mindset, and not just your mindset as a school owner or the business leader. You must begin to work on the mindset of everybody who's connected with you in terms of stakeholder. Safety Chick said something that she just took the words right out of my mouth. Be agile, be very nimble in your implementation strategy, right? So it's one thing to plan, and then it's one thing to plan to implement. You need to not just plan, but plan to implement. So have a step-by-step guide for yourself, and keep reiterating, keep having that feedback loop that is very fluid, so that if something needs to change, then you change it. But it's not just changing it, it's changing it and communicating your why for that change to your community. If not, you begin to breed mistrust. They said they would do this and they are doing this, and you don't want that to happen at this time. Also, as I said, it's not business as usual. Look, some people will not come to school this year, and you do not want to lose that income. So you must fashion out a way to keep those people like Titi and myself. Yes, Titi, you are my cousin, who inside the net. You don't want them going outside of the net. All right, so fashion out that plan. If you're not sure what to do, seek help. All right, thank you so much. Why is
this your union is becoming an unholy union. It's your KK. It is
Don't be jealous. Don't be jealous. Don't be jealous.
I will look for cousin too. Don't worry. If I Safety Chick, is there no connection?
No,
remember that
she's our baby cousin. Leave her alone, please.
Safety Chick, remember now.
One of my uncles married a Yoruba woman. I need to get to the bottom of it. I think you are from that side of the family.
Yes. That, you are my 7th cousin. In fact, 7.5, 7.5. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who's joined us today. Thank you for all the comments and contribution. Thank you for those who are apologizing to me online stylishly, aka Jesse.
But this is
God will catch you.
about
God will catch you.
Giving students the COVID-19 test. Did you guys hear that? I didn't hear about that.
Yes.
Jesse's
Yes.
comment.
Yes. It's sad if that's happening. It's quite sad because that's a burden that shouldn't really be.
Yeah, because the COVID test at the cheapest is like 25,000 naira. Even me, I drop that on you. How much more for students, parents?
I know, right?
It's a lot. It's a lot.
I think a lot of people are really cashing out in this period, but then it happens. So we believe that it will be looked into and addressed. But I needed to remind us. Koye was on the show sometime, I think, 2 weeks ago. He was on the show, and he talked about beach hiking, and there was meant to be one on the 6th of September. So that was rescheduled and is taking place this weekend on Saturday, the 19th of September. So KK, Rhoda, you said you were ready and interested, and Titi by now would have been ready to face her fears. It's also going to be there, I believe, to make sure that everybody is safety conscious. So if you're interested in beach hiking, and you're interested in fitness, you're interested in networking, you're interested in doing all that in one event, then I think the beach hike event is for you by Kingfisher Echo. Just go online on social media, you get to see, or check for Koye Jo or Koye Shofolu, where you will get to see on Instagram or Facebook as well. This is all we can take for today, and we believe that tomorrow we'll be having a guest, and he will be joining us, and I believe we'll be talking about fitness for service tomorrow. There are many things that you need to know about, and if you're a school owner, school leader, and of course an educator, please, this is the thing to do. Join us on the show. Get your team to join us on the show. All through this week, we will be discussing from different experts and views on how to ensure you have not just a soft landing, but a smooth operation in the new session. So it's been a great time. Thank you so much. As our analysts begin to wave goodbye, we'll see you tomorrow. Remember, it's always a great education show. Bye.